Well, it's that famous Ira Glass quote, right? Where it's just like your taste isn't as good as your execution. So for the longest period, you're gonna be making stuff that your taste is bad looking. And so for a lot of people, that's like how they stop. Because they're like, well, it looks bad and I know it looks bad. Why would I grow? But if you just keep at it, you will finally hit that level where your taste hits your execution.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Shot Talk. This week I have Trevor Klueg. Trevor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being on, dude.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
Dude, absolutely. No, it's an honor for me.
Is this the first compositor that you've had?
You are the first. Yeah, I might hire you actually to help me composite this thing because we're gonna have a lot of shit flying around the frame.
I'm down. Let's do this.
Yeah, we'll have some Dragon Ball Z effects coming out.
Flare up, I'll get some good Michael Bay flares.
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah.
We'll get some one of those light flare flying across the screen.
You won't be able to see me. I'll just be a lens flare. Yo!
So, dude, I was looking at your webcomics, man, and really funny stuff.
Thanks, man.
Because I like to do a little bit of research, make sure that I can appreciate who I'm talking to.
Hey, man. I appreciate that.
That was really funny. I like the stuff you do. You do it pretty regularly, huh?
I started it. When I moved out here, I would just go to a laundromat, and it was a sad, reflective time. No friends, just dirty clothes.
Coming out to LA for the first time.
Yeah.
It is for a lot of people. It's
right. And
pretty lonely.
There's that moment I got this a lot where people were like, it's going to take you around 4 years to get a base of friends and to feel really good.
It's pretty true though.
I couldn't believe it. In Minnesota, everyone's so nice. I was just like, not me. It's going to take me 6 weeks, bro.
Right.
Oh my God, they're so right, dude. It's such a cliquey, tight knit. You go to parties and everyone's locked in these little groups. It's so hard to break in to just get some friends in this town.
Yeah.
So I'm in the laundromats making comics. The comic's called I Hate Myself because I was wallowing in misery. And I did it for 300 weeks in a row. Every Wednesday, I just kept going.
As a personal sort of thing, you told yourself you're going to do it every week.
I just wanted to, get better at sequential art, get better at writing, and definitely get better at drawing.
Yeah.
And you can see it's the first, half of them are trash, almost embarrassing, and then all of a sudden I start hitting my stride, and it's it's actually a readable comic.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Looking back at old stuff is always oh my God, I can't believe I was doing that.
But you shouldn't hide that trail. A lot of people like seeing the growth of an artist.
Yeah.
And so that kind of is a time capsule between where I was now and where I was then. Yeah.
It gives people hope. It's I'm not too far off from that's actually what got me into considering doing, because I did 3D animation for feature, and I remember seeing, I think it was, the guy who directed the Pixar short with the rabbit, I'm totally blanking. Presto.
Yeah,
Presto.
Got it.
I forget the guy's name. It's something Doug. Anyway, I saw some of his earliest work, and I was like, oh man, I'm not that far off, and I thought I still have to learn a lot, but at least it gave me sort of a little bit of inspiration. So good point. Yes.
It's okay, don't trust an artist who doesn't show the breadcrumbs. You know what I'm saying? If they're just a deity all of a sudden, that is a pact with Satan. You don't follow that person. They're obviously evil and you can't learn from them. But if you see an artist and they're growing steadily and you can always see just their path, that is the people to follow.
I love guys I think about guys like Bowie, who you ever see him on a talk show and you look at his work and you're man, this guy is esoteric. He's on another plane, right? But then you see him on a talk show and he's the most personable human whatever dude. It's wow, that's kind of refreshing that he's, you know what I mean? Still a human being, I guess.
Totally. I think for a lot of that kind of stuff, it is dubious to meet those heroes, right? Because you have such an infallible this person's so awesome, and then when they act like a dick or do something, it just destroys any preconceived notion.
Right.
But every now and then, person
Brad Bird just spits on you. When you see him.
Just eats your head y'all the buffalo. Or
he's a cannibal. Every part of the buffalo.
Dude, he's eating me.
That's such an inside joke. So for people, Brad Bird's whole thing was when he was working on The Incredibles is to use every part of the buffalo.
Yeah.
You know, basically
as
be
a
efficient,
storyteller,
right?
don't leave anything hanging. You got to use every element of it.
And it turns out he's a cannibal. So I'm glad we figured that out.
So we had this. This is a story. I forget what animator. His name was like Andrew Gordon or so. He was a Pixar animator, and he was at that. What is it, that animation con that's in Burbank?
Oh yeah, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Creative Talent Network.
Yeah,
CTN.
that's the one. So he had a half hour like.
Andrew Stanton, maybe?
It wasn't Stanton. It wasn't that big of a name.
Okay.
But it was just like, I've been working there for like a decade, and I'm going to do a lecture. And he had all of these clips of Brad Bird, just like in Ratatouille, just in the story room. He's like, I just filmed this fucker. And I remember like we were taking furious notes. The dude was dropping more knowledge in a half hour than like we've ever gotten. And then once the half hour hits, he's like, oh, well, I have like 20 more slides left. And everyone's like, yeah. And this person comes in and he's like, nope, Toon Boom commercial time. And they kick us all out so they can add some Toon Boom program. We're all just like,
oh my God, who cares? And you never used Toon Boom since. And you're like, fuck those guys.
But it was just one of those things where it was just like, we were mainlining Brad Birdisms. You know, we were just like, he was just like giving us all these QuickTime movies of just Brad Bird just like, well, what you gotta do is this.
Right,
you know,
right.
We're like,
You're like, amen.
Yeah, I could have been. Dude, so
that guy. I mean, I knew guys at DreamWorks who were like old school guys who were like 2D animators on Iron Giant.
Oh, nice.
And I always like to ask people like, what's your favorite production? What was your favorite thing to do?
Yeah.
And every single one who was on Iron Giant was like, oh yeah, obviously Iron Giant. Like that was the best. Because like, that guy's like, he knows how to like get the troops together and get everybody pumped and like go to sort of animation war. You know what I mean? Like he's such a he's got really cool energy that way. Like he's like, let's do this.
Yeah, he is a leader from like Simpsons and that. What was that dog one? Family Dog.
Family Dog. Yeah.
His early stuff. He just. Even at CalArts, everyone was just like, this hot shit's going somewhere. Right. You know, it was obvious that he's just like an alpha type who just knows exactly what he wants.
He's like animation Chad, you could say.
Dude, totally. Well, because there's the pencil pusher aspect of animation where there's a lot of people who want to be the wizard who hide behind a curtain.
Yeah.
I want to show you some awesome shit, but I don't want to look at me.
Dude,
you know?
There's so many, I knew so many guys, French guys, mad talented. Probably some of the best animators in the world, but like they all had that sort of like, I'm a mime otherwise in real life. Like they're really, really quiet.
Oh yeah.
And it's really funny because if you really want to get like a really good artist to squirm, not that I'm encouraging this, but like you just really give them a really good compliment. And it's almost like they can't process it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, for sure.
It's so
the
funny.
Humility, like,
it's like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and then there's the really talented people who it just comes naturally when you have them explain how to do it. They're just like, you just fucking do it. Like there's that famous. Like Milt Kahl came to CalArts and did a lecture, and it was just awful. He's just like, well, you just gotta fucking make the drawing perfect. You're just like, dude, I'm not Milt. How, And so it's like some people can lead and just like inspire, and other people, it's like they just have these wizard powers, and it's like, I can't really explain how I do it, but I do it well,
No, I've known a lot of guys like that who they go like, yeah, I just drew it. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you did. I'm sure that's all that happened.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, because it seems like you have a lot of, I mean, obviously a lot of people in the industry have a respect and a knowledge for the history of animation. What was your like background in terms of getting into this industry? I'm assuming you went to some sort of school for animation.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. I went. I wish I went to like a 4-year animation school. That's like totally one of those things. I was like, oh, that'd be so sweet. But I grew up in Duluth, Minnesota, and we had 2 people from Duluth go from just like living in the Midwest to living in LA and making comics. It was one guy named Alex Kerwin, and this other dude named Kirk Tingblad. Kirk Tingblad is an animation timer, and he's worked on everything. Animaniacs.
They still doing that? They're still doing timing?
I mean, it's not used as much, but they'll hire these old school guys who will still write out the dope sheets.
Interesting.
Like Titmouse was using the dude who did Digimon. And he would just come in and just like tap the beat to a pencil and just like do X sheets for whatever cartoon they're going to ship to Korea to animate. So it's still a thing, but it's not used as, it's all mostly digital. Yeah, but I forgot what I was talking about.
Basically how you got into like schooling to here.
Oh yeah. So like I was in Duluth. So I was like, I'm gonna do graphic design because I can't take any math. And that was the one You know, you have to
Like
take all those
like,
lib eds, you know, to get like a BFA, and like you got to take some math, you know.
Yeah.
If you did graphic design, your math could be like maps and chart making. So I was like, hell yeah, dude.
There was a course in my undergraduate where for all the people who didn't want to touch it called Ideas in Math, and I was like, and it was just like, here's a pie,
Perfect,
and you cut a little wedge out, and that's a fraction. You know, it's like I like pie. I can do that.
I can eat pie. Yeah, yeah, dude. And so like graphic design was like the hot thing. This was in like you know, I graduated high school in like 2003. You know, went to the graphic design program. There's a lot of talented faculty there. Flash was a very new thing at that time. It was still being made for because originally
web stuff,
Flash
right?
was splash pages. You know, you'd get those beautiful animations, and then it was done, and you'd be like, enter the website. You know, and so that was just becoming huge, and so all the graphic design was starting. We got to have these Flash classes, and so I took a Flash class, and the teacher was actually learning with me. We were all just reading from the book because it was so new.
Yeah.
And fellow student Zach Frank, I believe his name was, but he was just like this prolific, like he just did this living room with him and an alien blinking, and it just like blew all of our minds. And I'm like super jealous when it comes to like when people do better than me with animation shit. So I'm, you know, just lit this fire, but I could never master this fucking program. And I was just like, curse this dude, he's so talented. But those are the people that push you.
Then you murdered him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I live here now, dude.
And you got his job.
Yeah. No, he's like a toy maker, I think. So he's doing something cool. But you know, you move cross country, you lose tabs with a lot of like college mates, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, got the 4-year degree, was in a band for a while, and then after a while, I just was like, I had an opportunity to move to California, went there, lived with a friend for a little bit.
So no plan. You just kind of were like, I'm getting into the neighborhood.
Plan, exactly.
I'm gonna figure it out.
The only plan I had was this. I was gonna take animation classes at SMC, at Santa Monica Community College.
Okay.
And I called it my poor man's masters because I'm just going to take a bunch of different shit, not for some category. I'm just going to take all your classes.
Treating it like a technical school more than anything.
They're like, well, you can't take this MoGraph. You're in the animation. I'm like, no, I'm here now. You know, I was taking everything. And we started, me and a few colleagues, Lou, Ari, Colin, Calvin, like my OG crew, you know, my first friends after a couple years being here, right? We started an animation club at SMC called GAX. Gaming, Animation, and FX.
Dude.
Because we didn't have enough people in either one of those to have a club, so we just fucking huge net, right. You know? You like
Gerbil aficionados, welcome.
Yeah, seriously. Do you like pixels? Like, what, you know? Right. So it was...
I love pixels.
We all wanted to just make cartoons on the side, and we were all growing, and one of my friends, Ari Wolf, she got an internship at Cartoon Network on Adventure Time.
Oh, okay.
And so this is all happening in like 2008. Now we're fast forward to 2008. And I was just submitting, you know, applications to different studios like, hey, what's up? You know, I'm making student films for festivals, you know, just trying to be like, I'm a guy who's been doing stuff. Want to hire me? Nothing. I was getting absolutely not even a reply. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, Titmouse, all those, you know, all the like littler like indie spots. And I was just like hitting it hard. Nothing was happening. Like Galaxy Toast, all these like weird... Galactic Toast. I don't
think I've heard of.
Yeah, just some smaller, like more approachable places, right?
Boutique shops.
Just wanted an internship. Just wanted to get my foot in the door, and so my friend Ari one day she gets a call, and they're like, "Yo, you want to intern on Adventure Time?" And she's like, "Yeah, that'd be awesome." And then like 20 minutes later, she gets an email, and it's Titmouse, and they're like, "Hey, do you want an internship on Metalocalypse?"
Whoa.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to Adventure Time, but I know this dude Trevor. He'd love to do that." Like that day, they hit me up.
What?
And I'm like, I'll do the interview. Yeah, you know, just like, and the next day I had the interview, and boom, I was an intern on season 4, Metalocalypse. Yeah,
that's how it happens.
That's how it happened, man.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about compositing. I didn't even know that was a thing. And I just kind of studied the layout of the studio and just kind of realized how I could be like the most vital thing. Yeah. So me and this dude Vincente were the interns who helped the comp team. And Vincente lived very far away, so I think when they offered the job to me, it was just because I literally walked to the studio, like I was very close. So we're just like, throw this dude the bone. Yeah. So yeah, I got hired full-time halfway into season 4 of Metalocalypse. And
I think that's something that people also sometimes don't, I don't know how to say this, like, just because you get the job doesn't mean you're going to know how to do it. Because I've been in a lot of situations where you go into the place and you spend like the first couple weeks or couple months like, I have to just learn everything as much as I can. So that way I just feel like I'm catching up with everybody else. And that happens a lot. And I think, if it's any sort of consolation for young people who are interested in this stuff, it's like, you have to definitely over prepare. Definitely make sure that you can, feel competent in whatever it is you're trying to go for. But know that even once you get there, you're going to have to keep learning a shit ton once you get there, right?
It thoroughly underscored the networking aspect of this job to me, because it was just like I couldn't get any results doing it myself. And then this just because of this one person getting an offer that was translated to me pretty much was how I got to where I am today. If you think about that, it's like incredible. You know?
Man.
And that happens throughout your job. It's just like the friend that 3 jobs ago remembers you and offers you the gig that you're going to work on for 3 years. It's crazy how this gig works like that.
And it's that first one that always seems the hardest. And then once you're there, and assuming you're not a colossal douchebag, then it's like, okay, dude, you'll be okay,
For sure. It's like this like rotating castle, right? And it's like this like weird crumbly fortress, and everyone's like prying at it, trying to get into the fortress. But once they get in, right, the thing just seals up. It just there's no way you can get how they got in,
right?
Because they fought at it for so, and then just finally they just squeezed in, and then you're like chasing after it, and it like takes your hand, you're like, ah!
Right.
That's literally how it's like this castle in the sky, the animation career, and everyone's just like clawing, they're
like
losing
these iron gates.
Yeah. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, you got to be like number one.
Did you watch what's it called? Metalocalypse?
Yeah,
Okay, so you were like, oh my.
I can't even, words can't describe like the shock where you just have to like, in your mind, you have to just be cool, bro. You're like, okay, yeah, work on this. It's like fucking Toki and Pickles are in the scene. You're like, wait, so I can go in Flash and this is their model? Like, this is all their lips, and you're like looking under the skirt of like a show that Dude, I was like sitting on a couch in Minnesota like, this is cool, just like, I like this show. And now you're like working there.
So you went through puberty when you got to Los Angeles.
How'd you
out of excitement once you got the call.
Yeah, I got the worst Mickey Mouse impression. That was it. So...
And then I became a man after my internship.
Yeah, dude, your balls drop after the internship. You get locked and loaded.
That's cool. I mean, that struck me as like a pretty tight production. Like it didn't seem like a lot of stuff. I guess around that time at Titmouse and stuff were, or it wasn't Titmouse. It was. No,
that was Titmouse.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like it seemed like those crews weren't like too crazy big. It was pretty small, right?
Well, that is directly with how Adult Swim plays that shit. They're like, yo, we'll give you like as little money as possible to make these awesome shows,
Right.
And so it's there's some Adult Swim productions where they're like, you can have a retake artist or a compositor, and it's like, dude, we can't have both. And
retake artist being
like a story, like a storyboard, like a retake or a revisionist.
Oh, I gotcha. Wow.
So or like an animation retaker.
okay.
There's literally like you can have one or the other sometimes.
And the people that wear multiple hats if they have to, I guess.
Oh, always.
Okay.
On so many of those shows, there's going to be the like Super Jail didn't have a compositor, but they just had a PA assemble it all in After Effects. You know, he had to do it. Someone had to, right?
Right.
And so you think that's not his only job. He has to do that on top of everything else. And you see that with animation now, where it's like, unless you're in a huge like Pixar, where I only do this, you're always going to wear more hats.
Right. Right. That's the thing people can definitely think about, is because I started at a big studio, and I actually hated that because they have such a big machine that they don't want anybody to move where they're from. So I had storyboarding chops, which I got to use later, but
nice.
I was pretty naive. I was like 25 and I was doing the animation work I had to do, and I just casually went and talked to the person, the lady who recruited me, and I said, hey, I don't know, is it cool if I do like a storyboard test or something? And I could see just like the panic that overtook her, and she's like, you're not happy with your job. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe later. And
growth, advancement.
Exactly. No, they don't. The big places, that is sort of something that you have to watch out for versus maybe a situation like that, right?
It's like a Cogsley cog thing. You stay in your lane. We hired you as a modeler and a rigger, you know? Like, we don't want you to do the texture, you know, X, Y, and Z. And so it's really tough. It's those smaller studios, you know, there were people there who were hired as an intern, and they became the assistant art director. You know, like, there's so much room for advancement there. But you know, at those bigger places, it's very hard because, you know, you get hired and then there's that, you get that official title, and sometimes it's a union thing where it's just like, it's, you know, you can't just like deviate. You know, there's different guilds if you wanted to be an editor all of a sudden. So, you know, I get that there's like some aspect of that, but it doesn't, you know, it's like do you want to be a what is it, a slave in hell or a star in heaven? Yes. No, I think it's opposite of that.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, do you want the cushy 9 to 5 where you're just going to do that forever, or do you want, like, you know, the fun, excitement? It might not be non-union. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of shit.
It might be more challenging mentally in the good way. Right? Like, so wait, you said you came from Illinois? So.
No, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yep,
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, dude.
So what was Minnesota like with animation?
To
me, it sounds like a desert, but
it has a studio in Minneapolis.
Okay.
There's like a dude who flies to LA and cuts checks and deals, and then just goes back, and he has his, like, you know, team out there. But it's nothing sexy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to get in.
Did you have a lot of friends that liked animation, or was it?
No, I mean, unfortunately, you know, Minnesota's more like, you know, I had a lot of friends who were into snowboarding and skateboarding and like, you know, but like the hella nerd shit, just, I had to keep that under wraps, man. Like, I was making comics, you know, and everybody else was like, you know, like Atmosphere was huge back then, and so everybody was like, he's a rapper, you know? And so people were scratching and pretending that they're Atmosphere, you know? I had like 4 roommates downstairs who all had turntables and just like, you know, and I'm just like, keep it down, you know?
I hear that story a lot, like, depending on, because people who grew up in LA or grew up in, like, you know, Canada, they're like, oh, of course I was going to be an animator, like, that's the thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
But we had a guy on here who was from Zambia in Africa, and he was just like, there was not much going on over there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And he's just like, but once you get in sort of the culture that thinks it's normal, it's like, okay, cool, now I can be a fucking nerd and not worry about, like, you know, going crazy over classic Disney stuff or whatever.
And just, dude, but just in like terms of like almost everything, you know, I'm not knocking Duluth. It's a great place to like raise kids. It's very safe, but it's like, I wasn't even getting access to anime for the longest time.
Oh, wow.
There was like it was like 8th Street Video, and they had this like Ghost in the Shell. I'm like, what the fuck's this, you know? And then Ninja Scroll, you know, you go down the line of like the ones everyone watches first. But yeah, it took a while to like, for me to really like, because I remember when they first started playing the original Dragon Ball, not Z, just the original Dragon Ball, it was on Fox and it was 5:30 in the morning. They were just putting it out as like, we don't know if the show's gonna do well, so let's just put it out.
The worst slot.
So I woke up so early and I didn't even know what I was watching. I didn't know what anime was, you know? Because in Nickelodeon in like the early 90s, they had all these like anime programs, but they didn't market it as anime. Right. One of them was like koalas. You know, they were all just like koala kids and shit. And it was just like,
I don't think I saw that.
Oh man, I don't know if David the Gnome constitutes as an anime, right? But I would say so. But like, there's all these
relatively.
Yeah, right. And like, there's just like some weird, like Dennis the Menace had like this like weird anime.
Okay, so yeah, like or Inspector Gadget, right?
Yeah. Like, it was like,
I'm pretty sure that specifically, you know, I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Inspector Gadget was Canadian, but it was, and I know like maybe like French Canadian, and like I know that the French have an approach to where they take a lot from like Eastern style animation. I could be dead wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
But yeah, I just remember that like, in the early days of cable, Cartoon Network was just the stagnant Hanna-Barbera, you know, that Alex Toth. It's just everything looks the same, and it was
recycled
just like
run
or
cycles.
The fucking the Hanna-Barbera, the actual like the animal guys, you know, and those were
It's funny. People think that Scooby-Doo is like really novel. It's like that's the one that popped. They had a ton of cartoons where it was just like trash. A bunch of kids. And then the big animal. Yeah. And it's like that. Scooby-Doo just happened to be the one that stuck to the wall. You know what I mean?
And, and all those like, you know, I mean, I can watch an episode of El Kabong. That's funny, you know? But like Manila Gorilla, holy kill me, dude. That shit is awful.
What's that one with the shark? It's like...
Oh...
It's like scrappy.
Jabberjaw?
Jibberjaw. Yeah, Jabberjaw.
Jabberjaw, hey!
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you, dude. I hate that shit. As a kid, I was like, wow, Cartoon Network is full of degenerate animators. I thought it was this current, you know? Like, I can't believe they're producing this bullshit. But yeah, like, I always hated Hanna-Barbera. But like Nickelodeon always had these like fresh, like fantasy, you know, crazy, you know. I'm just like,
and Cartoon Network, you know, in the '90s, they had a lot of fun stuff too, at least. You know?
Yeah. They started getting it, well for a while. It was a repository of just the vault of Hanna-Barbera shit, and then after a while, they're like, let's do original programming or like other stuff, and then you're starting to get like cooler, you know. Yeah, because like Cartoon Network now is awesome, but yeah, it took a while to get its bearings, and I remember back then Nickelodeon had the Looney Tunes license too. So I love Looney Tunes compared to Hanna-Barbera, so it was like, dude, it was a no contest, man.
Yeah, so I guess that was sort of like your, you know, I want to be part of this scene, and then,
well, the big one though is, you know how I alluded to those two dudes who came from Duluth, you know, Alex and Kirk? So Alex Kerwin is only a couple years older than me, right? And he went to LA, and it was like the What a Cartoon show on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Was
or not, What a Cartoon.
Oh yeah, Cartoons was one of them.
I think What a Cartoon.
It's like sure. What a Cartoon. What a Cartoon. That was Cartoon Network, right? Okay, Cartoon, dude. Remember that had like, you know, that was Johnny Bravo and Dexter's Laboratory, right? So Nickelodeon had something that was like, oh yeah, Cartoons, right?
Cartoons. Okay.
That's it's got to be. And he did two cartoons for that. One called 25 Cent Trouble, and the other one called Fatta Boy. And he did great with those two cartoons, and it started him in a career of animation. He was the art director for My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Okay.
Like, so he went on and actually he still works in the industry.
Yeah.
So I'm back in Duluth, in Shittown, right? And like, the Duluth News Tribune in the paper, he has this fucking page spread, just like local kid makes it huge in cartoons. I'm like eating Fruit Loops, and I flipped to it, and I have an aneurysm. This thing was literally taped to my wall, like sleeping. It was just this kid's head.
Oh my God.
And then he came to talk at UMD, and I was like, I will pick him up from the airport, you know? So I was there, I was like, and I was always impressed with this guy's trajectory, and that was the dude who, like, you know, the competitive thing, you see somebody really doing well, and it just lights that fire, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, well, if he can do it, I can fucking do it, man.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And it took me a long time to get compared to him, but you got to get there, man. And that's the fortress. It's different for everybody, you know?
It's funny, you talk about like kind of smaller places in the world that end up becoming big with whatever, but I have a friend who's I don't know if you're familiar with Chris O'Neill, but he does like a Let's Play, and he has got a lot of animation, but for a while his channel was Ireland's biggest YouTube channel, because, and this is, I don't know if it still is, but it was maybe 7 years ago, because like, yeah, he was just making stupid little fart joke cartoons, and they were getting millions and millions of hits because they're really funny.
Yeah.
But then like he gets an article printed about like, you know, Ireland's biggest channel, Chris O'Neill, and it's like a fart joke with Harry Potter characters or something. I
love it.
Or a dick joke, really. But yeah, it's just so funny because I'm imagining the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like, look, we got one who made it.
Yeah,
oh my God,
dude, legit.
Yeah.
Well, the best part is, so we wrapped on I'm on Teen Titans now at WB.
Okay, cool.
And Teen Titans Go, and so we just finished the movie, you know, a couple months ago.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, this is a moment. I was feeling hot to trot, you know? So I was like, this is a moment. I'm going to be my own PR agent. Let me hit up the Duluth News Tribune, tell them that your boy's doing well, you know? So I did a press release, you know, your local Trevor, you know, doing it, making it happen. Would you like to interview him? Yeah, you can have it. You know? I wasn't that presumptuous.
I represent Trevor.
Exactly. I was just trying to be like, getting the word out. I saw that Alex Kerwin one. It was really good for me. You know, it was inspiring. This might inspire the youth. I tried to frame it so good.
Totally.
They're just like, they're like, what is a compositor, eh? And who are you again? I was like, nah.
Well, let's talk about that. Like, so because people, that's a profession that a lot of people don't even consider. Like, that's super obviously really integral to.
Yeah, I didn't even consider it when I first came out here.
Yeah.
And what I was seeing when I first came to Titmouse, I was noticing that and Titmouse, God bless them, I think is the most progressive studio because they fully support full compositing with their productions. And you'll notice that other studios, they almost have like a studio look. Yeah. And compositing is that extra step of really separating yourself from the pack with just extra production value.
Yeah.
And you can just pump up the art direction.
Yeah.
And so, Titmouse is like probably their holy grail of things to have worked on and things that, is that Motor City.
Totally.
And that is quintessential Titmouse look. There's blurs, a dynamic camera, like everything that a cinematographer could utilize, they are doing in compositing. And if you go in another studio, you won't even get a blur. You'll have backgrounds where the furniture has shadows, but the characters don't. Right. So you're like, well, it looks like lick and stick stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how all those little subtle touches come together and hit you whether or not you realize it. But yeah, it's like all that camera movement, all those motion blurs, all the little it's like the last 10% that if it's not there, you can't point it out, but it doesn't feel polished. It doesn't feel as produced, right?
Like exactly. Like it was always the case with because we're as animation is being done, we're the next step in the pipeline, and then we put the backgrounds and the characters together, and then we export those to the editor. So that's our place in the post-production spot. So we always get a creator who they see these beautiful backgrounds. They're like, oh, this is amazing, right? And then the animation's always the thing where they're like, my creations are coming to life, And then we have to be like well, did you know I can blur it? Right. And it's always like, that's the part where you're like, wow, I got a cartoon on my hands. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get the rim lights, you get the lighting, you get the shadow, everything's moving, you get that beautiful background. That's when it's like, yo, this is a cartoon on our hands. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally.
And so it's for some shows it can be a ton of work, It can be a lot of work. For other shows, it could be as simple as like putting a texture on something, or just exporting it straight as,
Right.
So it's like that doesn't even touch any of the live action elements of compositing, but that's not my specialty.
No, it's interesting because like everybody, I've messed around with like live action and tried making shorts and this and that. I remember the first time that I used something as simple as just a track to have like, the camera start here and then slide it forward as it's shooting.
Oh yeah.
You see that back in the editing bay and you're like, oh my God, I'm making a movie. Like it's the small little touches that you don't realize go so far.
Yep.
Like to just make it feel not amateur.
Exactly. Like you could take a PSD, you could scale it, right? And then you just got a flat sheet scaling. Or in After Effects, you take that PSD, you got the ground, you got the buildings, you got the mid-ground, the foreground, the sky, the sun, maybe a lens flare, Michael Bay, and then all of a sudden you can push in Z space and you're in a world. You made a diorama, and all of a sudden it's night and day between just like, once you see just like scales and no clouds moving and stuff, you just like, okay, like this is a non-composited show, they just needed to lick and stick it. And there's no blame to that. But a part of that is attributed to shipping it overseas. Making animation overseas is so fucking expensive. Yeah. And then
the results sometimes aren't, depends.
Yeah, and you get like, QuickTimes back sometimes. You can't composite with QuickTime, Right. So you're not even getting proper plates back from these like illustrious animation houses, So it's just like, do it in Flash. Get the fuck out of here. Do it here too,
in-house, totally.
Because the retake team, they never account for the retake team, with all the F-ups, the mouth comes off,
I think it's like a tradition thing, right? Because I think in the 80s and 90s, it was like, of course you send it overseas, and of course it's done that way. And I feel like now I'm seeing that becoming a little bit less, at least.
The new overseas is Canada. That's the thing. Okay. I mean, Canada, dude. No, but Vancouver, it literally is where almost all of the entry-level jobs went. Okay. I'm not even joking to you. It's that tax incentive.
This is for 2D.
For 2D, I mean, probably 3D, but for 2D productions and television animation, there is a lot of work up in Canada. It just doesn't pay because there's no unions up there.
I gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you save a lot of money. Canada pays you. There's no unions, but it's like, Yeah,
I heard some horror stories about Sausage Party, about like, people not getting paid for working on this.
All you have to do is look into the video game industry and see all that crunch, all that stuff that they have to put up with. That could easily parallel to the animation industry if there was no unions. You know what I'm saying? So anybody who wants a union bust, it's like they have no idea how well the people are protected from those abusive practices, Right. No one should have to do a crunch. That's soul crushing. You miss your family and friends. Yeah. Like it's pretty toxic.
Yeah, no, man, that's the thing about animation that like it's so easy for someone who doesn't have like a respect or understanding of how it all comes together to just kind of be like, just get it done or completely change everything and who cares without understanding like how many man hours that takes. Like that's something that's,
yeah.
I feel like it's always going to be there. But so it's nice to hear about places like Titmouse, I think, where it's like they're maybe a little more aware of like that process. It sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, they have done very well for themselves in adapting with the changing, how animation works. And their studio in Canada is huge, and they have just so many talented people. So they've done very well in that transition. And at Teen Titans, we have Bardell and Copernicus are two other studios up in Canada that we deal with, and they very talented, you know. So it's cool to see all the work up there. Yeah. But and I started in 2010. That's when I finally got in at Titmouse. Yeah. You could from no experience whatsoever, if someone could vouch for you, you could be a cleanup on the super jail team, or you could be working on China, Illinois. There was a huge amount of entry-level jobs here. It's just not the same right now. A lot of those productions now, either they're over in Vancouver or they're just kind of more of a skeleton kind of thing. So that's kind of the,
No, it's just the reality of it.
It is.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
is.
It's sort of like waxes and wanes, right? Because it feels like sometimes it's perfect to come out of school and get a job, and then sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
Yep.
Well, let me go back to the actual compositing. Well, for you, do you have like almost like a priority list of what you think is important to get a shot composed correctly? Like, is there sort of for you, like a personal checklist, I guess, right?
Well, it's always, you're only as good as your art director, because your art director is the one who establishes the look of the backgrounds, and the backgrounds establish a lot of what you're going to be dealing with. Yeah. Because, right, if there's shadows, if there's intense lighting, if there's a mood that you need to capture that mood with the characters. Yeah. You'll notice if you watch Metalocalypse and you're like a fan of it, Season 1 of Metalocalypse is very rudimentary in its style. They were just trying to make a cartoon. It was Titmouse's first big gig. And so, they were learning and they were making a cartoon. The backgrounds, everything, it's good, but it's a little bit paper dolly, and it's more just like good radio, right? Right. If you go to like season 3 and 4, the backgrounds are miles different. It's like a Baroque painting. Like the production value goes through the roof, but also there's a ton more compositing. Yeah. You get like dust effects and lighting, and there's all these optical flares, and there's depth now. And that was through Brendan Small seeing Motor City. Right? It was being made at the same time. And he was just like, dude, this looks awesome. Why aren't we doing this on my show?
Do you consider that like one of the best examples of good compositing for you?
Motor City is like like the best compositing is going to come from Japan. Yeah. It always is, because in Japan they treat their compositors with way more respect. Okay. And they just get to like do crazy experimental things. That's cool. And so for television animation, Titmouse's aesthetic, beats. There's so many shows that try really hard and get like a style, but I always point to Motor City as just like, you could watch episode 1 and the last episode, it's just there. The style's already, it's not like they had to find it, or like they got inspired one day, and I think that's important, with art direction. Otherwise, it'll be reruns one day and you'll have like a dinky episode with a good looking episode. And that's the thing where it's like, well, don't you want to show your breadcrumbs? And it's like, yeah, I get it, but also it's like, night and day. It's weird when a show, it doesn't have a lot of seasons, vastly, changes. So with cartoons, I like having a set look. I don't like the look growing. I want that look to look right. Right. So the set list is always like, can we blur? Can we use shadows? What can we use? What does the creator want? Right. And then, are we using a camera, or is this like an Illustrator background? Because then the Flash artist can move everything. It's all vector. You can put it right into.
I'm guessing you use After Effects mostly.
Yeah, After Effects is like, I'm hesitant to say industry standard, because there's even shows that are being composited in Toon Boom Harmony now.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like there's not really the biggest standard, but I would say After Effects is like, what I cut my teeth on and what a lot of shows use. There's Nuke, but that's more for like big budget, like commercial work or movies and stuff,
Yeah, I think After Effects, it goes way beyond even animation. Like I know a lot of people in like all different types of like video industries that's a pretty safe bet
Yeah,
to
well,
learn,
it's, the whole Adobe suite, Flash and After Effects work very well together.
So this is going to get a little super technical, geeky, but I'm curious, if you were to composite in After Effects, I'm guessing that you would make a virtual camera and then have like planes, like holding different, like let's say you want to do a push in with a Z, right?
Yeah.
You would just break it up in actual 3D, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So like in Flash, originally you had to do image sequences, and those are like non-raster, so you couldn't zoom into those too much.
Right, because they're all together.
Exactly. But now you can just export, and this is for a while now, you can export just a straight up SWF, bring it in, so it's like cell. You have one character as one layer, another character another, and you can just Z-space, you can integrate them into the diorama as much as you want. And then, depending on how organized your Photoshop person is, you can divide all that up. And, because there's some guys who are just like, this is great, let me flatten all this. You're like, no, I can't do anything with that then, So it's like if you, and that's, Antonio, the art director, like, of overall Titmouse, was so good at getting the Photoshop people to just like, first they would name their layers. Everything was hella organized.
Good.
Yeah, it was because it's like if you just cemented your clouds with your sky, now you have to just move that whole plate.
Dude.
And if you got a gradient on there, it's gonna look all,
Dude, that's something that a lot of people don't ever talk about, but just fucking organizing your files, knowing that another person is going to go through them.
Oh yeah.
And a work environment is so important. Like you want to like, obviously being a hard worker, being a team player, being, a decent person. Those are all important things, but like organizing your fucking files is like huge, especially in the studio situation.
Organization, because it's always going to be, you got sick or you had to leave that night.
Right.
But we need to re-render that file, right? So where'd you put it? Is it not on the fucking hard drive? Is it on your own computer? What's your password? We got to get in there, and it's just this. And then all of a sudden you got mad that night, and so one of your files just says "fuck this," and like then your producer's like, "Why does it say fuck this?" Like it happens all the time. So it's like you always have to be like, "Oh, fucking layer. Oh no, I can't. People will look at this." There's always going to be somebody who opens up the one that
or like you said, opening up a PSD and being like, "Is this a jungle or can I actually make sense of everything?"
Oh well, layer 8 was my screen layer. It's like, how do I know that?
Name it that.
Exactly. And some people, it's like, their prestige is like, I won't name names, but we had this one dude we worked with who's like, I'm going to make you guys an animatic to work off of. And we're like, sweet, give us that animatic, and he didn't give us a QuickTime. He gave us a Photoshop file in the timeline, movie timeline, and he just had all the art strung in a timeline.
Oh my God.
And it was just like,
oh my God.
It was like an 8 gigabyte Photoshop file, and it was just completely like, this is how you work?
Yeah.
This is how you fucking work? Yeah, it was nuts. And it's just like, it's like some people just do what they got to do to make it happen.
That's like in the old days with Flash animation, like a lot of these guys from the internet would make 3-minute, 4-minute cartoons, and I mean, even I did that when I first started out, but you put everything in one Flash file, and like that's so dangerous because like if it gets corrupted and it dies, like you're fucked. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. But if you chop everything up into separate shots, then not only does the computer not crap out because it's 10 gigs big, but like it's just more efficient that way.
Yeah, so. like this is like the rudimentary stuff, but this is what awoken the like, oh, I can do this, is like we had a guy, Jim Keeshan, and he was at SMC, and he on our first at GAX, we were doing our first like animation project, our first little like film, and we had no idea how to start it, and he was just like, well, take the QuickTime or whatever your storyboards are, whatever you have, and everything, every cut is number it, and don't put it all together. Have each animation thing just those limited amount of frames.
Totally, yeah.
It doesn't intimidate you at all to open a file that's like a 25 frame scene. But once you crack open that like 5-minute flash, you don't want to, that's terrible,
Yeah.
And so you want to just have all those small victories.
I think that's a good way to put it. I think a lot of times maybe artists are a little more freaked out by variables, like the sheer amounts of variables. Yeah. Versus if you kind of like simplify everything down, then the mind isn't so overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like there are those types that are like half robot, where it's just like I see the matrix, but it's like not everybody thinks that way, especially artistic types where it's like, let's do one thing at a time, let's simplify, let's streamline it, and then you can sort of like, okay, I'm not so freaked out anymore by this thing or whatever. So
well, and another thing, one of the main reasons why I chose compositing, because I mean, I did like, the finishing touch, and I liked being able to kind of finish a cartoon and make it finalized. But the other thing was, as an intern, I was looking at all these board artists and animators, and for 8 hours a day, they are drawing. They're doing somebody else's idea. None of them wanted to just go home and work on their own stuff. None of them did. Because and that's the one thing, it's like people really romanticize this thing. If you take your hobby, turn it into a career, it's not your hobby anymore. It hurts you to do it as a hobby now, And so I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, I have a lot of ideas and I want to make comics still. Like, I don't want to burn out of drawing. So I was like, if I do a career in compositing, I might be able to do both worlds. And so that was kind of one of those choices that I made, was it's like, I want to keep making films, you know?
That's true, man. Sometimes you start to hate the at my worst, when I was sort of in the pits of DreamWorks, I was like, I don't even want to see the movie. Like I've been working on this damn thing for so long, and I'm sure it's decent, but it's been a big chunk of my life, and it hasn't been, some productions were really good and some weren't, like anything. Some productions were really bad, but then if you go through a bad one, you kind of just get turned off by it, and it's kind of a bummer to be like, wait, I used to love this stuff. I used to go in there, and it didn't matter, if it was a B- movie, I still wanted to see it because I was in love with the art form.
Exactly.
And it's totally true.
Right.
I mean, I think comics are great though, because you can still have that artistry, right? But obviously writing and coming up with ideas. So that seems like I see a lot of animation people do comics to sort of find that outlet, right?
It's a great outlet. Well, because with animation it takes so long to get it out there. So you have those moments of inspiration where you're building it, you got the storyboard, you have all these funny gags, and then you sit with those gags for 9 months. And they're not funny then. They almost insult you that you're doing them. You're like, this no one's gonna laugh at this.
And the bummer is that sometimes they change them just because they want to see something different, but they might have been funny to begin with. So.
It's if you sit with something too long. Another thing, if you work on a cartoon, but you take so long to finish it, your style will change and you'll resent the beginning stuff, and you'll be in this weird always redoing your cartoon. So you literally just have to commit and just spit it out and just I got something done, because I see a lot of people do that. They have this magnum opus that they're always chiseling away at, and it's like, dude, you'll never finish that, man. 10 years you're gonna be like, well, that's a bad scene, I'm gonna redo that. Like, it took you 6 months.
That's the trick, man, is if you're doing your own stuff, you kind of have to wear that producer hat and be like, just need to get it done at this point, because I guess however you define success in life, but people tend to find more success by just finishing stuff versus making that one perfect thing. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
It's always a balance. You don't want to compromise too much and just make a bunch of garbage, but a lot of folks, even some of the best artists, they just, the volume of work that they produce, it's they're always finishing a chapter, move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? That's a big thing.
Bill Plimpton may or may not be your cup of tea, but the guy's been working and making features for, since the 80s, And it's at a certain point, nobody can shake a stick at that dude's work ethic. And I think that anybody who's just constantly doing, creating, will find some measure of success. Because it just shows that you can, you're driven, and that you have a lot of ideas, and it's just that you just do this. This is what you do. Might as well get on the train.
I think it was Winston Churchill used to do a painting every month or something like that. I mean, they're all terrible. But he made them. He made them, and that's what counts.
It is. You can't, because
then he went on to fight the Nazis, and there you go. So it works out.
It gave him strength.
Yeah, whatever you call success, whatever.
Well, it's that famous Ira Glass quote, right? Where it's just your taste isn't as good as your execution. So for the longest period, you're going to be making stuff that your taste is bad looking. And so for a lot of people, that's how they stop. Because they're like, well, it looks bad and I know it looks bad. Why would I grow? But if you just keep at it, you will finally hit that level where your taste hits your execucation.
That's super cool.
Tons of people are just like, well, I can't stick figures. I can only draw stick figures. Well, try draw once okay, I'm gonna just go out and just say Inktober's shit. Right? Inktober is shit, and why is because it asks too much too soon. It wants 31 drawings in a short ass span of time. Everyone does 2 or 3 good ones, and it just turns into scrabbles and excuses. I'm sorry, I gotta catch up today, right? It's like
we're gonna have to upload this soon now. We have like a huge backlog of recorded stuff, but we might have to put this out.
Let it fester. I hope everybody's like nursing their wrists after October and this comes up.
We'll put this at end of October, just to piss off.
Just to fuck that guy, whatever his name is, Jason or whatever. But yeah, dude, I said it to everybody. I was just like, take those 31 drawings, right? Add 21 more. That's 52.
Yeah.
Do one drawing a week. You'll see better artistic growth because you're doing it throughout an entire year, 52 weeks in a year, right? You're gonna have way better feedback because after like the 7th of October, no one gives a fuck about Inktober. It's like deluged on their Facebook and Instagram. You're getting the likes, but no one cares anymore. So all I'm saying is cut the bullshit. And if you actually want to be an artist, you should do this not just once a month, but all year round, you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like everyone's like super hot on Inktober, but I'm like, dude, I think it's like fakery.
It's like working out before summer hits and then like becoming a fat shit in December and then rinsing and repeating.
Yeah, man.
And never really being happy.
It's like, and I like how like some Instagram artists, you know, like that Craig Gleason or whatever, he does the Bad Guys Club. So he does this like little monthly thing, but it's like all his stuff. There's like people who like make it their own, but yeah, if you're just using that generic fucking Inktober official list, like fuck that, dude. Set fire to that list and make your own art for sure. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, all the best guys, like I think they're good at keeping the fire under their butt and not stopping. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not easy though. Like it definitely like. Yeah, at the same time, it's like it's a mental discipline, right? More than anything.
Definitely.
Because you do something even when you don't want to, but you know it's good for you, so you do it anyways, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's it unfortunately is kind of like a bike, or no, it's not like a bike. You have to kind of keep at it. Yeah. The fundamentals will always be there, but you can always tell when someone's like
drawing is like
rusty.
Riding a bike is if you were to stop riding a bike for a year and then might potentially get into a fatal accident for not riding for a year. Yes. That's the exact analogy. Yes.
Nailed it. I'm real proud of that one.
I hope people learn, you know. So for yourself, what do you want to do like career-wise? Like it sounds like you do have some ideas that you might want to get to eventually, or like
yeah.
Is there
well, it's like compositing is awesome, but I think the holy grail for everybody is to like have their own thing, right?
Yeah.
And because of how much content is out there, what that means is way different now.
Yeah, it's very saturated, isn't it? It feels like there's so many platforms and so many. It's almost like there's too many good shows now, right?
And I have a show, the power of that is just diluted right now, you know? Because even like 5 years ago, it's like, I got a show. It's like, you just knew it was Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, or you're just like, oh, you got a show, you know? Right. And now it's like, I got a show, it's Machinima on YouTube, you know? And you're like,
it's the YouTube Cartoon Network.
Yeah, it's version. Cool, but it's like how much money they give you? $1,000 an episode, you know? Like what can you do with that, you know? So like, I wanna have a thing, but I don't know where to pitch it to or where to, I have ideas, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm like kind of a company man at WB right now working on this show that's just kind of a train that keeps moving. So I'm just kind of getting bald and fat on a kid's show. And then when they kick me out of WB, then I'll start fucking hustling shit, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, for right now, I worked at Titmouse for 4.5 years, and then right from there I went to WB on Titans. I've been there for about 2.5. No, I think it's almost 3. It doesn't matter. But so it's been like almost like an 8-year run now, you know? And so if this keeps going, it'll be awesome. But I mean, compositing's been good to me, but it is kind of funny because it's like, it's nothing I thought I was going to do as a career, you know?
It's cool though, because it kind of puts you in the whole space and you get to meet all the people and everything. Yeah.
And, like on Metalocalypse season 4, I worked with the guy, Eric Erickson. Everyone called him E-Rock. He, when he left season 4 to work on, it's an IFC cartoon called like Everywhere. Everywhere. It was a dude who left South Park, and he did that on IFC, but then he left, that show got canceled, and then he went to Future Worm. His name was like Andrew something. I'm great with names. Do you know that? Well, anyway, so that was E-Rock's trajectory. He hits me up one day and he's like, hey, you want to gig at Titans. It was like 2 years later, you know? This dude that I had just, worked with on Metal, because we had lunches together and we were just shooting the shit. And so, yeah, it's like this dude later throws me a bone. I get to go to WB and he's my supervisor. And it's just like,
Small town, man.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. It totally is. It's like anybody who is good, they always land on their feet. And anyone who's bad, they get weeded out so fast.
It kind of works itself out organically,
Yep.
You know, it's funny. I don't know why you made me think of this, but I don't know. Well, I guess the idea of having your own stuff and making your own stuff. But, I think it was The Matrix Reloaded, Keanu Reeves paid all the visual artists. And it wasn't like a huge team, but he gave every single visual artist who helped with that movie $1 million.
Jesus.
And people did different things with that money.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've ever heard of the show Killer Bean. This really obscure weird web show about it's not the greatest CG, but it's like this little 3D bean, and he goes around doing like kung fu gun stuff. And it's I love it because it's kind of laughable, but it's like this guy's vision is 100% exactly what he wanted. And it's one of those beautiful things where it's like, just because, Keanu Reeves threw him a bone, he made his magnum opus Killer Bean. So I, for one, would love to see more, stuff like that. And I guess, like we're saying, now that there's so many little venues to do stuff like that.
Well, what the big bummer though is that adpocalypse thing that happened with YouTube.
Oh, right.
Where everything has to be 10 minutes
dude,
now.
Man.
That killed. Remember how
it killed my channel, dude.
That's right.
Not to play a sad violin, but like my channel was growing pretty rapidly, and then the algorithm switched. And I was like, I can't pay rent anymore. Well, I guess I won't do this anymore.
Dude, there were so many people who were making their living doing animation on YouTube. Once that changed, like, dude, where's the Flash cartoons being made? Like, where's the irreverent, funny auteur comedy?
Dude.
It's...
Go to Newgrounds, man. Newgrounds is still around.
Yeah, there's definitely good shit on Newgrounds.
That's not as big as it was, but
it just sucks that was such a great audience, and it just was a hot moment and then just gone.
Man. I had friends who they bought a house over YouTube back in the heyday.
Wow.
And they would do like a cartoon that get it was back then. It was like every million hits was about $1,000, if not more.
Jeez.
And especially if you had a really high CPM, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you get something that got you 5 million hits, and that was like at least $5,000. And out here in LA, he was living with roommates at the time, but that goes a long way. Yeah. That gives you incentive to keep going.
Yeah. It was a boon. It was a total boon. And it was just like a brilliant moment of creation where all these just joke characters came out of. And so, that's like, I kind of mourn that because it feels like, it is a little harder, and Spike and Mike aren't really
totally.
It's like it's tough to really get some good underground weird cartoons, know. And it's always fun when you go to one of those shows and you see some film at a festival that just blows you away. You think about what was it, Nick something, the pig farmer? Did you ever see that?
I don't think so.
He's like this. It's like a cutesy cartoon about this this little pig guy, and Nick Cross.
Yeah.
What's it? Yeah, so
Nick Cross.
So he did the pig farmer, and so there's like a fox that lures him to this
it's forest. Kind of like John Christofalusi inspired.
Yeah, and kind of like 1930s, rubber hose, and the fox they gave him some drugs, and he has this weird fucking spirit quest, and he ends up mutilating all the chickens in his coop, and the thing is, it's like a fever dream, you watch it, and you're just like, am I watching this with people, and it's I wish that there were these traveling Barnum circuses that would just warp kids' minds with here's this fucked up cartoons that'll make you fucking want to, this will make you want to work in this industry.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, I guess I kind of grew up with all those the weird Newgrounds boom, and then a little bit of the YouTube stuff. But I don't know. I remember even before that, I remember I caught heavy metal once in the middle of the night, the 1980 version of heavy metal.
Oh yeah.
And man, I tell you that thing really made me think, man, you can do anything you want in animation. It just opened up this box in my head where it's all I ever knew was Disney, and I love Disney. I still love Disney. But man, it's important, I think, to run into that when you're pretty young, and it's man, the world's big.
Right.
You just don't know until you see someone else do it sometime.
Yeah. A lot of people shit on Cool World because it was kind of a muddled mess.
Right.
But man, when I saw that, it was a VHS. It wasn't 17. I couldn't see it in our theater. I was a kid. But when I saw it, I was just like blown fucking away with just this like the skyscrapers with the mouths and shit. Like just everything about like the Cool World area. I was just like, oh my God, man. You know? And it was just, there were those moments of just like, this is what animation could be.
Yeah.
You know, if Disney didn't have his fucking iron grip over everything, like we could have had some weird shit, you know?
Well, Ralph Bakshi, that was his whole thing, was like, he was sort of anti-Disney, wanted to do...
Yeah.
Like he was kind of doing that on purpose to be like, I'm going to go the other direction.
Just like the UPA boys are like, you do the fucking, you know, one frame a drawing, you know, like we're going to just holds and like artistic drawing, you know, like...
Right.
And
I have a friend who, he ended up at Pixar, and it's so funny because like you look at his work and it's super refined, it's super like distinguished, like it's very painterly.
Yeah.
Like he just made a children's book. It's a beautiful. And then I was like, well, you know, what kind of turned you on when you were growing up? And he was like, oh, I loved Wizards by Ralph Bakshi. And I was like, are you serious, dude? Like
did he do Wizards? I don't know if...
Did
Ralph Bakshi do Wizards?
I'm pretty sure it's the one with they're riding those weird animals.
He's on that horse thing?
I'm like 95% on that.
Okay, yeah.
But in either case, whoever made that film, he was like, oh, that really reformed a lot of how I saw things. And I thought, that's so weird because it's nothing like, at least to me, nothing like what you do now.
Yeah.
So it's funny because like sometimes, maybe you're not going to be stylistically anywhere near, but it's still cool to be like, wow. Possibilities, you know, like that's still really cool.
For sure, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Bakshi did that. We'll have to, I'm gonna get so many internet comments of like, his name is
this guy works on Titans Go? Fuck yeah, you know. 800 dislikes.
What was up with that? Like I heard a little bit about the drama. Like was it crowdfunded? Like what's going on there?
No, it was
like,
just the Teen Titans was a very popular show that a lot of people grew up on. Teen Titans Go is what they feel is a bastardization of something they love, you know. And the heat's off us now because the Thundercats team, you know, God rest their souls. They're getting so much hate. And then what's the other one? The She-Ra, Princess of Power. All those shows are just doing a different take on an IP. It's so innocent, but people hate when you meddle with their nostalgia. And then the new Ninja Turtles is getting that too. They made Splinter kind of an oafish, kind of a dickish character. You know, they're just playing on the types. Donatello's a little different. Raphael's the leader now. People are just having meltdowns. Dude.
You know, it's interesting. Like I feel two ways about it. Because one, I think, oh come on, it's just a cartoon. But then I do understand it's like, and you know, regardless of whatever they're doing to whatever, there is still a part of me that goes like, oh come on, do something different, do something brand new. Like have the balls to do a completely new show. Oh yeah. And I get it. Like people want to, like, you know, especially producers in this town want to do the safe thing. But so yeah, I see both sides of the coin where it's like, you know how you don't ruin someone's childhood is just make a new cartoon altogether. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but at the same time, man, like, they're getting a lot of heat for sure.
When you got an exec, you know, with probably his job on the line, right? And he's the one who like can give you access to it. And do you come up with him with an original idea that he will just so easily be like, no, this is new and I don't want this?
Right.
Or do you do something that has residual, and you see it all the time. It's like, you know, let's make the movie Battleship.
Right.
What the fuck does Battleship have anything to do with what they made? You know what I'm saying? They just fucking, in Rampage, same thing, you know? It's like, what the fuck was that movie? But they just needed that, like, hey,
maybe this is gonna piss off the right artists, and we're gonna see something amazing because of all this safe stuff, right?
Dude, like, Candyland, the movie.
That's not real, is it?
No, but it should be.
Oh man, you scared me. Oh my
Lord
God.
Licorice.
Yeah.
Can you just picture that shit? Yeah, you know, unreal. Fucking
that
Queen
would make
Frosting.
me move to a mountaintop and work on a film for like 6 years just because I'd be so angry at Candyland the movie.
I'll work on that. I will reboot Candyland. Plumpy, fucking green Plumpy. Dude, Jolly, all those fucking dudes. Give them to me. I'll fucking make the best Candyland ripoff you'll ever see. I'll take all the stuff that you love and make G.I. Joes and shit, Michael Bay explosions, and I'll make millions of dollars.
And that's how you make it in this town.
Fuck yeah, dude. Find the board game no one's cashed out on yet.
Right.
Get
Monopoly.
the Milton Bradley money, son.
Well, Trevor.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks so much for being on the show.
Dude, thanks for having me.
It was a blast. I think we you know, got some little nuggets of wisdom, hopefully, for the kids out there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Good vibes, good nugs, some fucking good carpet ambiance.
Compositing is an option. That is a thing.
Follow your dreams and composite other people's stuff.
There you go. Good message. And make webcomics too. Make funny webcomics.
Yeah, always make your own art.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Love it. Love it, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, dude.
Absolutely.
Much appreciated. Get some other compositors up in here. Get some,
dude,
you know.
we're open to recommendations for sure. So
all right. Yeah. I know some talented lady storyboard artists and animators that you know. So yeah.
Sweet, dude. So that'll be it for Shot Talk this week. We'll see you guys next time.
If you like this episode of Shot Talk and would like to see more episodes in the future, join the Shot Talk Patreon at patreon.com/shottalk. You'll get access to private Discord servers, Q&A opportunities for the guests, and more. Also, if you're enjoying these beats, you can follow me at jetsy.bandcamp.com. Thanks, and see you next time.